Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another show, the Daily Dose Show. With me today is the co-host Dominic Pagura, not the face of Dominic Pagura, but the voice of Dominic Pagura, nonetheless.
Yes,
Mr. Dominic Pagura, how are you doing today on this fine Tuesday afternoon? How are we
I
feeling,
am.
man?
I am doing fantastic. With everything going on in life, in sports, just in the world in general. Today was a great day. We're nearing the end of October and getting into the colder months, the depressing months, if you will.
Yep,
So
we're getting
I'm
there.
happy to have enjoyed another day of great weather and excited for what should be a fantastic matchup tomorrow featuring the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Los Angeles Lakers.
Bronny and LeBron are in town and the city is pumped, you know. The good thing about it is that when one thing dies down with the Guardians especially, one thing picks right back up, you know. It's
Yep,
it's it's
absolutely.
really nice. It's really nice. We got Cavs basketball, and not only that, the Cavs are looking dominant, and we're going to get into some key points on why we think the Cavs can take the next step this year and really solidify themselves as a threat in the Eastern Conference. Not that they weren't before, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them dancing for potentially the big dance, going to the finals. I
Absolutely.
can I can see them in a game against Boston fighting to the death in a 7 game series. You know, there's a lot of different things that can happen, and we'll get into it obviously, but we're here and we're live, man.
Yep.
Dom, how are you feeling about this Cavs season? First and foremost, we've gotten to see a couple games. What is your overall take on this Cavs team right now?
Well, you know what? It's a great question, great starting point, and it's interesting because the Cavs have played such a small sample size. Even in the 4 games, that's still considered a small sample
Oh
size.
yeah.
But nonetheless, we have seen so much out of the Cavs already that it's very very exciting, and the optimism is running high right now for Kenny Atkinson coming in as a new hire for the Cleveland Cavaliers after the departure of JB Bickerstaff. We didn't really know what we were getting outside of the fact that Kenny Atkinson has time coaching with Donovan Mitchell in Utah. He
Mm-hmm.
has some experience playing with some of these other players, or coaching some of these other players, if you will. Karis LeVert off the bench, of course, with his time in Brooklyn. And some of these other guys, Jared Allen had time in Brooklyn as well under Kenny Atkinson. So with some of these guys and a familiar face at the helm, you didn't really know what to expect going into the season. Small sample size so far, though. We have seen tremendous improvement.
Oh
The
yeah.
improvement of Evan Mobley. They talked a lot about how they wanted to rapidly excel his development in the offseason, and I think so far we've seen a very rapid development so far in a lot of his skill sets. Outside of that, though, with the way that the Cavs have kind of changed their system, they're thriving on both ends right now. The emphasis, I would say, right now with these 4 games we've seen would be ball movement and spacing. Those are
Yep.
two things that I think they have really, really improved on. The ball movement was by far the most notable of the two that I wanted to mention, because I felt like last season we started to kind of fall into some traps against some teams that we necessarily shouldn't have, where we're seeing these young cores that maybe they weren't producing as well as the Cavaliers were, but their record didn't really tell too much of how overall they perform. But the Cavaliers, ball movement wise, fell into some traps, as I mentioned, and I think that so far this season they're much more fast paced offensively and defensively. Spacing wise, they rank first in the NBA in field goal percentage and have the second best offensive rating right now. So that kind of goes hand in hand with those two categories there specifically. They're moving the ball around, they're spacing guys out, and they're creating matchups that I think we hadn't seen under the coaching experience of JB Bickerstaff. So those two things there, I think, stood out the most with what we've seen these first 4 games so far.
No, I absolutely agree with you. Honestly, I mean there's so many different things to look at. I mean this team just looks like the team that we've expected to see for the last
Right.
3 years, 2 years, 3 years, and it really, I think it all starts with Evan Mobley. I really do, and I
Absolutely.
think and I think that's kind of how it's always been though. I feel
Yep.
like as a Cavs fan, you kind of knew that the where this team was like this team could make it to the finals. This team can win NBA championships, but it all depends on the progression of Evan Mobley. And
Absolutely.
what we saw with JB Bickerstaff was such slow progression. Like I'm not gonna say he didn't like get better because he definitely did. And obviously, as a player gets more familiar with the league, they tend to get a little bit better and more comfortable. But we really didn't see much improvement from Evan Mobley until the playoffs. And that really seemed like it was a self motivated change, not as much of a coaching progression change. That felt like he just had a spark. Like, I need to pick up for my team. My team is injured. So, nonetheless, but now, like this year, I think they've put an emphasis on Evan Mobley needs the ball in his hands every
Yep.
single possession that he is
Yep.
on the floor. He needs to have the ball at least once. And why is because he finds himself in mismatches a lot. And not only that, but he's so quick and moves so well for how tall he is that it's just so hard to guard him and he can create such easy buckets if he just really hones in on his skills, and it looks like so far this year that the man is killing it. I mean, he's flying all around the court. He's blocking the ball. He's doing everything. And
Absolutely.
it's Atkinson has brought something in that the Cavs needed, and it's I don't know if it's belief, faith, energy, whatever it is. And obviously, Atkinson is more known for his player development and personnel. So I get like you can kind of contribute it to that because he's definitely way more related with the players and kind of builds that connection from within from the beginning. And obviously, already being familiar with some of the guys on the roster. I mean, Karras has looked great this year. Jared Allen's looked great this year. Darius has looked great. Donovan looks like he realized that right now he's just in a feeding his guys mark. He's just feeding his guys. He'll put up his 20 plus, but he's
Yep.
just feeding his guys. Like
Yep.
and that's what they need right now. Both Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell have kind of they have embraced this role of Evan Mobley is going to get the ball, let him do what he does, and he's either going to create a shot for someone else or he's going to create a shot for himself.
Yep.
And right now it's just working. I mean, it's everything is just clicking. I mean, the Knicks, who they have struggled against for the last 3 years, basically,
Oh my gosh.
the Knicks have tormented this Cavs team, and they finally got to them. And obviously, this is a little bit different of a Knicks team, and
Much different. Much different.
but nonetheless, you went into New York, you went to Madison Square Garden, and you handed them the L, and you have the win. You're still
Right.
undefeated, and
Yep.
they're cooking. They're cooking. You have the Lakers in a 2 game stretch coming up with the Bucks. You're gonna get tested. You're gonna have tests, and
Yep. And I'm kind of glad that they're hitting this point early on in the
mm-hmm,
season, especially going to New York, which is a team that we've
mm-hmm,
already seen, as you mentioned, the last 2-3 seasons, but especially this coming season. That may be a team as well as Boston, even Milwaukee. Those
yeah,
teams right there are going to be teams that we will definitely be seeing down the stretch.
yep,
And so I'm glad that
Philly,
they,
and
I'm
all these
Philly.
teams.
Yep, I'm really glad that they're getting a little taste of them early and to go into Madison Square Garden and they kept it competitive. They started off the game a little slow, and as the game went into the second and third quarter, there
Yeah,
tide started to change a little bit. You started to sense that they were getting everything under control. They understood what their assignments were, and I think that this was the real test to start the year. And they had a couple easy matchups to kick off the season, but New York, great matchup. Uh, LA coming into town tomorrow. You got to defend home court against LeBron. There's going to be a lot of excitement, a lot of attention too. The media attention. I know that doesn't always play a big factor into performances, but personally, I think that with the way that the season's already gone and with high expectations for what we've already seen, this is absolutely where you want to be playing this team. You mentioned Evan Mobley. Got to get the ball in his hands every single possession.
100%.
He is able to facilitate and create space. We talked spacing. He himself creates the space that is needed to finally open up some lanes. I've seen a lot of great plays where Mobley gets the ball and he drives into the paint. He looks to hand the ball off, either dumps it off to Mitchell, dumps it off to Garland, or even kicks it out to Dean Wade, who has had a tremendous start to the season as well. This team is just playing so fluid right now that it's hard to kind of find any glaring issues or anything notable that you could say is like, man, we really need to work on this. I have very, very little complaints so far. I think one thing that I could nitpick, if you will, would be a little bit of their early in the game play. I don't want to say play action, but just the way that they're coordinating some of these plays and getting the game started. I think they're a little bit slower, but if they're able to kind of adjust to that in the second and third quarter there, I don't think it's really an issue. You'd
No.
love to see them start off strong, but not every team is going to be able to start off super strong like that. So, you can't make it too glaring of an issue, but it's really hard to pick out anything too notable of what they need to improve on. Kenny Atkinson has done a fantastic job getting Evan Mobley rolling again and into the category that you would like to consider him as one of those bigs that's able to space the floor out, create plays, move the ball, and also take shots. I mean, we already seen him shoot from the field and have tremendous success already. He's able to dominate in the paint. He's career best he's averaging 2 threes a game so far, with 17 points per game, 9 rebounds, and averaging almost 3 blocks. Man,
Yeah, no, he's
that's
cooking out there.
that's incredible. That's
Yeah,
absolutely incredible.
and yeah, I mean, like you said, and obviously a point where we're gonna kind of touch on here. I mean, what Atkinson has done to this team, and what he's done to the schematics of this team, and the spacing, and just everything. I mean, it's insane. It really like. It's nice to see that this team is off to the start they're off to. Now, obviously, it's a long season, so nothing to get too excited about. Very small
Right.
sample size, but nonetheless, like if this team continues on this trajectory and they only get better from here, which obviously we say they have no glaring issues. I bet you they have stuff that they're
They
constantly
do. They know
working
what they're
on, and
working on.
they know what they're doing, and
Right.
they're never going to be satisfied with how they're playing. Obviously, they know they could have beat the Knicks by way more,
Yep.
and they're aware of that. So obviously, a win is a win, but you're gonna take the good with the bad, and you're gonna keep improving and moving on. And hopefully, with these next games coming up, especially with the Lakers and the Bucks, two playoff caliber teams, you gotta establish yourself early against these teams. You gotta punch them in the mouth early, and you gotta get at them and attack. Especially teams like the Lakers and the Bucks and the Celtics and all these teams that have comeback ability. You want to make sure you're punching at them and fighting at all times, at all quarters, because I mean, yeah, you just want to avoid what happened to the Knicks, which is
Right.
letting a team come back because you get too stagnant
You get
and
too stagnant.
you get comfortable
Yep.
and you start relaxing a little bit, and next thing you know, it's a tied game going into the fourth, and
Right.
they have all the momentum, and so now you're in a bad position. But the Cavs have looked great. Obviously, the other good thing is they only had one home game so far, so they're doing this on
Yeah.
the road. They're
Yep.
doing this
Yep.
on the road, which is great because obviously this team has been known to be one of the best, if not the best team at home throughout the regular season. No team really plays better at home than Cleveland. I mean,
Yep.
it's so it's good to see that they're doing this on the road. I think that was an issue last year, was traveling with energy, playing with energy on the road,
Yep.
like establishing yourself early to get through all the jitters and the momentum. Like we were just getting in through first quarters last year down by too much. Doesn't feel like you're in the game, and yeah, you can come back from it sometimes, but a lot of the time you just get stuck in a rut and you can't dig yourself out of the hole. And it's like
You
you have to avoid that early, and they've been doing that very, very, very good. I mean, the next game they got off to a pretty slow start, but they kept it manageable. They never let it get really too out of control. Even 13 points is really not that out of control.
No, it's not. And for them to have stormed back from that and have
100%.
turned the tides on that, that's against the Knicks in New York. That's tough. The
Yeah,
Cavs
100%.
Cavs right now, you mentioned Evan Mobley and Jared Allen are anchoring a top 5 defense right now. And
Yeah.
this early on in the season, we know defensively they have all the players in the world that can lead that team to being number one statistically on defense. Performance-wise, you know what they're able to do. You know what they're capable of doing. As long as everybody is playing with energy, as you mentioned. You mentioned the word stagnant as well, and I think that was something that we saw a little bit too much of last year, especially as the
100%.
season went on. That was one
Yeah.
thing that I don't think they figured out was how to create different matchups and find ways around issues of energy, guys playing too many minutes in previous series that you just you can't get that full 100% rest into where you got to go out there and you got to play back-to-back games. And
Yeah.
whether you're on the road or you're coming back home, the traveling, it has a huge impact on these guys. So for the bench especially, and I think that where we're at right now with this season opposed to last year, our bench with the respect of the injuries that we faced last year and some of those issues, the bench is going to be able to play a huge role this year, especially with the rise of Amani Bates, Ty
Yep.
Jerome,
Yeah.
Dean Wade, of course, finding his way into the starting lineup a lot of these times. Karis LeVert coming off the bench and embracing that role. That's huge for him. Okoro coming off the bench is huge.
Yep.
These guys that are getting experience
Max
as
Struess is injured. Max
right.
Struess is injured. He'll be back.
Struess is injured right now, but I don't even think Struess is a good player, and he brings a lot of great attributes to the table that we definitely thrive off of. At the same time, his skill set is so much different than anybody else on the team that when you throw somebody in there like a Dean Wade or you throw a Coro in there, whoever you're putting in there at that position, you're going to get a different skill set. And I think certain nights Struce's definitely benefits us, but I think a lot of times when we're playing these teams that you don't expect to see these bench guys getting bigger roles, it definitely throws the other team through loops, and then they've got to adjust. And sometimes those adjustments aren't able to be made till late in the game, and sometimes at that point we've kind of put it out of reach, which I think the Cavs do a great job of, dominating the game in the second half, creating those matchups that overall benefit us for the remainder of the game, and just put us in a better position to offensively produce, defensively lock down their bigs, make sure that they don't have any facilitating going on, especially at home, dude. Those away games for us are tough. They're very tough.
Yeah. No, 100%, man. I mean, there's just a lot of
A lot
like.
of positives. There's a lot of
Mhm.
positives, and
There's a
it's
whole lot
notable.
of positives. There are a
It's
whole lot of positives
it's
to this.
very notable to say. I think with, again, I mentioned the injuries and some of the performance issues. I would even say, I hate to bash the guys, but last season, injuries or not, some of these guys had some pretty poor performances. Specifically, Darius Garland took a step back last year from his All-Star performance the previous season, but this year, I mean, he's came into the season with he's coming off a 20 plus point performances. He had 30, what was it, 32 last night?
Yeah, yeah, he had. I believe it was either 32 or 33 last night, but regardless, I mean, he stepped up, and 16 of those points coming in the fourth quarter. I mean, he stepped up when you
Yeah,
needed
right.
it. He did
Absolutely.
he did what the exact opposite of what you saw last year. And if we can get this
Yep.
Darius and we can get this Evan Mobley and Donovan Mitchell can just be Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen can just be Jared Allen, and whoever's that shooting guard can just fill the role. Like,
Just fill the role.
and it's weird because obviously Max Strus right before he got injured was technically the starter. He was in the starting lineup. He was the starting shooting guard. Now
Yeah.
obviously with the injury, or small forward I should say. Now obviously with the injury, Dean Wade has found himself in the starting lineup. Now Dean Wade is the thing with Strus is like Strus gives you the best offensive potential out of all the shooting guards, but he gives you the worst defensive potential out of all the
Yep.
shooting guards or small
Yep.
forwards. So when you really look at it, it's like it it becomes more beneficial to put out somebody like Dean Wade who can still give you offense and can still
Right.
produce on nights, but is just no matter what, even if he can't produce on offense, he's going to be locking down on defense.
Yep.
And because Strus is going to have off nights, and if he's not on, then you just got to be quick about getting him out and not letting him see the court because
Exactly.
you just can't let him be a nuisance on both
No,
sides. I think they had that happen too much last year,
I
and I
agree.
think with the step up of Levert and the step up of Dean Wade and all these other guys, and I mean Amani Bates when he comes back off injury, and all these other players, you hope to see less of the letting the guy with the cold hand out there and just leaving him out there to try to shoot it out. Instead, and just rotating and getting someone else in there and getting someone
Get a fresh
fresh,
face. Yep.
fresh with some defense who can score, but also will just provide you defense to try to get you out of that rut because obviously your shooter is cold. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of different. There's a lot of ways that this team already feels different and differently coached. Really, I mean, it feels like there's new people in all the time. There's never really the same lineups. I mean, you'll get the starting lineup a couple times, but like then they switch it out and Levert's in or somebody else is in. The really only constants are you're either going to get one of Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland or both, or you're going to get one of Evan Mobley or Jared Allen or both.
Right.
And either way, I mean, yeah, this team is looking very sharp, very solid, and you're hoping that you can just have a healthy season where this team can just get better constantly. Obviously, it's not going to be a fully healthy season. There's going to be injuries, but
Of course.
if you can avoid the long lasting lingering injuries like Darius getting jawed
Oh man,
and all this
I
other
forgot
stuff.
about that.
Yeah, I mean, if you can just avoid the stuff that keeps players out and makes them cold and have to try to come back, if you can avoid all that, then like this team's gonna be in a great spot. I really have faith in this team, and as we get to the next one, which is the season predictions, but I really think this team can go really far. I think that they have a chance to sneakily get the 1 seed if they just win games because at the
Yeah.
end of the day it's not about necessarily being better, it's just winning games. If
Win
you
the
just
games
win
and get to the
games,
postseason.
you can see the Cavs as the 1 seed. Now I think they match up very well with the way they're playing. I think that a Cavs Celtics matchup would be a 7 game series that
Oh, absolutely.
everybody would pay to see because it's just going to be a shootout. I mean, your teams are so evenly matched. If they're both healthy and you're getting like I really think if they're both healthy, like the Cavs match up so well with them. They just play such good defense. They they have good rebounders. They have great scorers. Like all sides of the ball. I mean, and the Celtics are the same way. I really think that that's what everybody. I think that's the consensus on what I think the Eastern Conference Finals is going to look like.
Yep.
But it also all depends on seeding because at the end of the day, the Cavs and Celtics could play each other in the second round, and that could never happen.
Right.
But
One thing I do want to mention too. You know, we've talked just overall predictions and what's going on, what we've seen already, and I know we've talked a little bit about their upcoming matchups. You mentioned big games against the Lakers, Bucks. They play the Lakers at home tomorrow and at home on Friday against the Magic. Then they go to Milwaukee, back home to play Milwaukee,
yeah,
down to New Orleans, and then they come back home to play the Golden State Warriors. So this next week-ish, week and a half stretch of games is going to be huge for the Cavs to continue this momentum and to continue to show that, you know, they can go out there and their top 4 guys can produce and have great performances. We saw Jared Allen 15 points, 15 rebounds, 5 for 7 from the free throw line, 17 points, 8 rebounds out of Mobley, 25 points out of Mitchell, and 34 out of Garland. That's a awe-inspiring performance against a team like the Knicks.
in New York.
Go into this next week stretch and continue to knock these kind of performances out.
Yeah, and I mean like it's obviously we're kind of just sitting here at the beginning of the season, kind of going off the base little model. But I mean, I really don't think like with the way this Cavs team's playing, I just don't think that they're like I just don't know how it's gonna be how you're really gonna stop them.
Well,
I
and do you
think
see how much energy they're playing with too? Like
yeah, I mean
this looks like such a different team.
I think the only people that can beat the Cavs right now are themselves,
Yeah,
genuinely.
yeah.
And if that continues all season, like this is as a non-biased, just like as an NBA fan and as like looking at the NBA right now and looking around at all the teams, Like I think the Cavs stack up against every team, and I think they can give every team a run for their money with the way they're
Oh,
looking right
definitely,
now. I
definitely.
mean, it's just it looks that way. I mean, if they're gonna go out and beat the team like the Knicks, and they're gonna go out and beat these teams, and like obviously we'll see as they come up against these playoff caliber teams. Like if they continue to just rattle these wins off and look good, and even if they lose some of them, but they're close and they just look good, like every team, no matter what's going to lose games, whether they win the championship or not.
Right.
So it's just can they prevent losing dumb games? Like
Yep.
can they guys like you have to prevent losing winnable games, especially
Fine.
down the stretch. Like if you're losing by 13 with 5 minutes in the fourth quarter, that's not a win. That's not really a winnable game anymore.
No.
But if you're
Right.
down 4 with 2 minutes, that's a winnable game. If you lose a game like that, like you need to figure out how to win those games. And right
Yep.
now, I mean, obviously we saw it against the Knicks. Like if they can win those games and they can just grind out this regular season, build this chemistry, build and play with each other. Because at the end of the day, they were so injured last year, it just felt like they never played with each other.
Exactly.
If they can play with each other and actually pick up a good groove, this team is going to be unstoppable. I really
Oh, I
think
agree.
so. And my my prediction right now is, I mean, I'm thinking about the West. I've been thinking about the West this whole time. I
Yeah.
don't like I'm deciding between a couple teams. I don't know if I trust the Lakers to do it. I don't I like part of me wants to say I think the Nuggets are going to take the next step, like are going to re-step back onto the finals again, but like
Yeah.
they've
That's
been
tough.
looking bad too. So
They have.
I
They've
don't know. The West
poor
is a weird.
performances.
The West has a lot of good teams. I might even say it's going to be the Young Cats versus the Young Cats and OKC versus Cleveland.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh, what a matchup
a
that would be!
match
I can't wait to see that.
a matchup of two very young, promising teams that are on the come up. I mean, you got plenty of talent on both those rosters, and they both look good right now. And OKC was bitter close, but now I mean, obviously, like a team like Dallas looks good, and Dallas can be a threat. They obviously made the finals, so like, I mean, I don't know. There's good teams in the West, but if I had to make a prediction right now, I honestly like with OKC and how they've looked, I would probably go OKC Cleveland with a winning a game 7 against Boston. I think if they make it to the finals, they win. Like I think Boston will be their hardest matchup in a 7. I just don't think other teams match up with them the way that Boston does. Cuz Boston has fairly good athleticism throughout their lineup, and I don't know. I mean, I think a healthy Cavs team, like they still had competitive games against the Celtics without a healthy team. I want
Right.
like with the healthy team, I genuinely think that this team like I think they take them. I think they win. I think the Cavs would win in the 6 or 7.
Yep, I agree.
And so
I agree.
I really think the Cavs can do it, man. If they play like this, like I genuinely think they can do it. I mean, they've made it to the playoffs. They've won a playoff series. They know what it takes. They can. There are no more excuses about this lineup and what they have and haven't done anymore, and the experience that they have or don't have. You have the
Yep.
experience. You've been to the playoffs. You know, you've
Yep.
been there. You've been there.
Yeah.
You've won a playoff series. You've won
Right.
one. You had another one against the Celtics. You had to play in those games. You know how it feels. Like obviously you haven't been to the finals, and that's a different beast. But once you get there, you're there. You
Right.
know, and
Yep.
you have a shot.
Yep.
So it's like they just need to take that step, and I genuinely think they will. I think they will, just because I think the East is down this year a little bit.
I do too. I
I
honestly, I think the East is definitely down, and
I
I don't even
yeah.
want to say that. I don't want to say that Boston's going to take a step back, but I don't think they're going to be as dominant as they were last season. Of
No,
course,
teams have figured it out and have played all offseason to the fact that the Celtics, I mean, they won last year and they didn't do much in the offseason. They're the same team basically running the same schemes.
right?
And
And
so
they have players too that I think Jason Tatum, of course, is an MVP caliber. He's one of the faces of the league itself. But I think outside of that, you look and you kind of compare players. I mean, name wise, you can't so much compare even Donovan Mitchell as much as you'd like to. But I think Donovan's characteristics as a player may differ from Jason's, but I think production wise, Donovan can go out there and be just as productive, if not more productive, on a nightly basis than
Yes.
Jason, than Jaylen Brown, then some of these guys, whether Porzingis is able to make that step back to where he was before. I just think that this Cavs team, with what they've shown so far and what we know that they can already do, there's really no heights that they can't reach if they can stay healthy, continue to play dominant Cavs ball, and just keep things moving. Don't find yourself. You mentioned stagnant. Do not find yourself in one of those roles where you're stagnant on offense and defense. You have issues with finding bench players that are coming in and off the bench that are, whether they have a cold hand and they're trying to just shoot it out, as you mentioned. Don't find yourself in those kind of scenarios where you come into these games best prepared to face any odds. These really good teams and these really bad teams, they're able to have nightly performances that'll shock you on any given basis. So go out there, play ball and let Kenny Atkinson do his thing as the coach, because I think he brings a totally different mindset to this team that has every piece that you could possibly imagine to make a run and just find success and continue that success.
Yeah, you can't let Donovan Mitchell try to feel like he's the only scorer on the team. And that's what
Right.
happened in the playoffs last year. Donovan Mitchell was chucking up 50 bombs and we were losing games because he was
Right.
literally felt like he had to do that. He had to play that way.
Nope.
And
And
we
he
can't
doesn't
let
have
him
to.
he doesn't have to, and he needs to feel that, and I think he feels that now, and so yeah, I mean I really that's kind of like that's kind of the focal points I see on this upcoming Cavs schedule. Obviously, we're gonna continue to talk about the Cavs and cover the Cavs week in
Oh
and week
yeah.
out, of course. But we did want to make a sole video, just talking about the Cavs and what we think about the upcoming season and what we
Yep.
think about what we've seen so far through these first 4 or 5 games.
I do
And
want to say, Alex. So your prediction is that they'll finish first in the East.
second, I think they finished second in the
Second.
East.
Yep.
I think they finished second in the East, and they beat the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they get either I mean, I'm between OKC, Denver, and probably the Mavs.
What if the Lakers are able to make a run?
I don't see the Lakers having enough talent to make a run. I like
I agree.
LeBron. I love LeBron to death, but that team just, if Anthony Davis is not going to show up, then no one else will. Like I
You
just
gotta
don't
have AD there.
like
Gotta
yeah
have
like
AD there.
like you have Roy Hachimura, and like you got all these other ifs, ands, and buts, and it's like they just don't have that roster that we're used to seeing the championship teams have. Now,
Right.
not to say that even their first championship team was a little bit just more well-rounded and more like depth. I feel like they just lack depth, and obviously they've gotten a little bit better off through this off season, but I not enough that I think they could definitely get into the playoffs and potentially win one series, but I cannot see them beating one of these younger Mavs,
OKC, Matt.
OKC, Denver. Denver always just destroys them. Denver is
Yep.
the kryptonite of the Lakers.
Yep.
And so, as long as they're all around and all these big dogs in the West are playing, like I really just don't see the Lakers making that adjustment. And I don't think it's LeBron's fault. I don't think LeBron's the problem. I just think it's depth. Like you can have LeBron is LeBron. He is going to be consistent to give you what he can give you, but
Yep.
he just can't give you those fucking playoff LeBron beast mode 50-point games anymore. Like he can give you 20, he can give you 25, maybe 30, and that's what you can get out of him. Like,
Yep.
and that's what it is. Like, that's still great. The fact he can still do that is fucking insane. But like,
Yep.
that's what you're gonna get. You cannot rely on LeBron.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it just feels like they constantly do every year, and it's like you have to get a younger, like a Ja Morant-esque player
Oh
that
yeah.
can
Right.
start taking the scoring away from LeBron, so that LeBron can just be LeBron. He has
can just
so much
facilitate.
knowledge at the game. He is so good at getting people open,
Yep.
creating space. He's a great floor general, just a great game manager.
Yep.
And you have to let him do that without having him to think about, oh, I need to score because my team needs me to put up 30. So it's like, yeah,
Absolutely.
that's my
I totally
problem with the
agree.
Lakers. I really think it's OKC, Denver, Dallas. I think OKC makes it this year though. I
Hey,
think
and you talking about Lakers? Of course, we see them tomorrow night, so we're gonna see
yes,
exactly how that'll transition
100%.
onto the court.
100%. We're gonna get to see this live,
Yep.
and obviously a little bit more emotion with LeBron and LeBron being back home again. And obviously this isn't the first time he's been home since he's been back, but nonetheless, when LeBron comes home, you obviously there's a different energy in the stadium on
Right.
those days.
Right.
So I mean, I feel like it's gonna be a playoff energy game.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna be
I feel
insane
like it always is when LeBron plays the Cavs because obviously he doesn't want to lose to his former team, the team that
tomorrow.
that he left. Losing to them probably leaves a bitter taste in his mouth.
Oh yeah.
But uh, but yeah, I mean, we beat him last year once. I think we won one, lost one, but we beat him once last year. I know that for sure. So like, it's not like you can't beat him. And obviously, I like the matchups in and of itself.
Yep.
I think the Jared Allen, Evan Mobley versus Anthony Davis matchup is going to be really, really, really good.
Oh, I can't wait to see
I
that.
mean, LeBron on whoever LeBron gets. I don't know who you're going to even put LeBron on. Maybe Karis LeVert, maybe like a Coro.
Definitely
Okoro,
put Levert on him if
Okoro, I think is too small. I think
I do.
Levert's
I
kind of
think
your
so
guy.
as
I think
well.
Levert's your guy. I mean, Dean Wade, Levert.
Wade,
So
put Dean Wade out there for sure. I think
yeah,
he's got lengthwise. I think he matches up probably the best against LeBron.
100%, 100%, 100%. But yeah, and genuinely, I got my prediction as the Cavs OKC finals. I'll put it at that since I'm between on the West. I'll commit. I'll commit to the OKC Thunder. I got the Cavs winning in 6 against the OKC Thunder in the NBA Finals this year. If
Wow.
the Cavs continue on this pace, if the
Wow.
Cavs continue to look like this and maybe even progress and take another step and really form a bond, I just don't think there's a team that's gonna beat them. I just don't. I do
I,
not see a team that can go into Cleveland and beat them.
yeah, I agree.
And I think they're gonna take that step ahead in the road too, where they're really gonna figure out how to win on the road, how to block the noise and win on the road. And if they can do that, if they can even steal a game or two on the road, they're gonna
Yep.
win. They're gonna win.
Absolutely.
They're gonna
Absolutely.
win, and that's my prediction. Now, Dom, I don't know how you feel, but I got Cavs. I got the Cavs all the way home. Obviously, this is a little bit of me being a Cavs fan, but also a lot of me just being looking around at the NBA right now and noticing that the Cavs have a window of opportunity in the East to really just make it, to get there. And as
They
long
do.
as you get there, you have a chance. And I really think if it is an OKC or if it is a Dallas,
Yep.
that you really stack up well against those teams. You
Absolutely.
stack up well. You have better bigs and they have better not better core. I mean, yeah, they do. They do. I mean,
They
Luka
do.
Kyrie is probably a much more favorable matchup with than
Hard to argue.
Donovan
Hard to
and
argue.
it is. It's hard to argue. Obviously, as a Cavs fan, you want to make the argument because you know how good they can be. But at the end of the day, Kyrie, Luka, 100%.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, that's my prediction, man. That's how I'm feeling about this Cavs team in this NBA season right now. I don't know about you, Dom, but I have high hopes and high confidence right now. And I'm just ready for this season to continue.
Oh
I'm
my
ready to get
gosh.
into the deep parts of the season where we're starting to talk a little bit of playoff ball.
Yeah. I feel like this season kind of snuck up on us. You know,
It
we've been
did. It did.
anticipating this heavily for weeks
Well,
and
I mean,
months now.
yeah, I mean, you got the Guardians just ending their season,
Right.
and which we'll have a dedicated video about sometime this week as well.
Yep.
And then you have the Browns who have looked terrible, so bad that you almost just wanted to block Cleveland sports out of your brain. And
Yeah,
I
it was
really
getting
think that's
tough.
the problem. The Guardians just lost, and the Browns suck.
Yeah.
So were you really even thinking about Cleveland sports? No.
No.
You were trying to do everything you could to avoid anything that had to do about Cleveland sports.
Yep.
And that included the start of the NBA season until the
Yep.
until the Cavs played their first game. I really was like, oh shoot, the Cavs play today. I was like, this is a real game. And
Yep.
I've watched them. I've watched a couple of the games. I didn't get to see much of the Pistons game, but I did watch a lot of the first game of the season against the Raptors. I watched all of that. I watched all of most like 90% of the Knicks game. I did not catch the first little snippet of it, but I caught the rest of it.
Well,
But
and even with that being said, the Cavs coming into this, and we talked about the matchups we've already seen so far. Going into even a team like Detroit, who's a young, promising team. Of course, they had a really bad season last year, but
terrible.
now have JB at the helm, who of course helped rebuild this Cavs core here.
Yeah,
I
for
think
what
he's
it's
the
worth, he
perfect.
did.
I think he's the perfect fit for Detroit, and to go into that game and not let up and fall into a trap. We talked about these trap games. So far, we've seen 0 trap games, and we've seen the only team that's really been in any of these games is New York. Really, they're the only team that's presented an actual challenge to the Cavaliers, and with the way that they performed and the performances that each of our top 4 guys put up, it's again hard to argue that this team isn't going to make it. As far as they really hope to go.
Yeah,
My
that's what I'm saying.
predictions again. I think the Cavs 2 seed. That's a perfect position to put them in right
Yeah,
now.
right
It's
now it
again
looks like they're a bona fide 2 seed. If as
right,
long as they just
small sample size, but 2 seeds seems very logistical. I think playoff wise, it really depends. We saw a team like the Pacers make a run to the finals last year, which was, definitely a shocker in
yeah.
and of itself. But if, not the finals, the conference finals, I should say.
Well, they made they made a finals run. I mean,
Right.
They were one game. They were one series away from being in the final dance. I mean, just as
Yep.
the Guardians made a World Series run.
And they
Yeah,
were in it too. They gave Boston everything that they had.
yeah, and
So,
I mean, so did the Cavs. The Cavs gave them a handicap version of themselves, and still were just in every game. I mean, it
yep.
really Boston kind of just. You hate to say they got like a Mickey Mouse championship, but it really felt like last year did not mean anything.
Right.
Like
I agree.
genuinely, it felt like the first finals were like this year. Nobody's like, oh, I mean, this Celtics team is so much better than everybody, and they're this God Squad team. Like, no, everybody's kind of like, well, I mean, anybody can win it this year, really. I mean, it's just like it's up in the air because at the end of the day, like you didn't see the Celtics go out there and just look that much better than everybody. Like teams were battling injuries and they were still barely scraping away some of these victories that you would rather hope them see to destroy these teams because they're supposed to be that much better. And so, yeah, I mean, I go on with your prediction, but yeah,
No, that kind of wraps it up. I think the Cavs are going to make it far. I really have a hard time even predicting who. I would
I
love to say as a Cavs fan that they're going to go all the way. I give me like one more week and I'll have
That's
a
what
bet.
I'm saying. That's what I get what you're saying, and obviously I say that just as an early season prediction, so I can see how brutally wrong or right I was.
Yeah, right.
It's more for the fun of it.
Yep.
Obviously, I'm gonna change my predictions as the season goes on.
Right.
Hopefully, not the Cavs part of it,
No.
but
No.
hopefully, I'm just talking about maybe OKC is not as good as I thought, but whatever. And the NBA season's gonna be a long, grueling, gruesome NBA season. There's gonna be a lot of days where the Cavs play nobody and they win by 20, and
Yep.
you're good. And there's gonna be days where you're grinning your teeth on a random Wednesday night because the Cavs are in a 2 point game against Philly,
Yeah.
and so it's gonna be a great season. We're here for the ride. We're
Oh.
along for the ride, and yeah, we appreciate you guys for watching this. If you guys have made it this far, we appreciate you guys for being this far into
Absolutely.
the episode. You guys are OGs. This has been our Cavs recap video. I don't know about you, Dom, but I am ready to watch Game 4 of this World Series.
Yep.
Sit back, relax with a little.
And preview, if you will.
Yeah, what?
Recap and preview, if
Yeah,
you.
yeah, 100%. And we got later on this week, some point this week, me and Dom will film our Guardians goodbye episode. As much as we've been pushing it away, don't want to do it, don't want to make it real, but we will make our Guardians goodbye and hello to the off season and what the Guardians can do to take that next step. But
Yep.
that will come this week as well. We will be live again on Sunday. Don't forget it for the Browns versus
Chargers.
Chargers. I blanked for a sec. Browns, Chargers. We got one hardball, and we're on to the next one. We get the battle of the hardballs back to back.
Bring it on.
Bring it on, baby. But thank you guys for another fantastic episode. You guys are the best. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. Go Cavs. Go Guardians. Go Browns. Go Cleveland.
Yep,
Get
we're on
yourself
top.
Yeah, we're on. Get yourself a drink. Go watch Game 4. I mean, by the time you guys see this, Game 4 will either be over or probably over.
Go Dodgers.
Sit back, relax, watch Game 4, maybe Game 5 if you're watching this, if there's a Game 5, but kind of go Dodgers. I don't want to see the Yankees have any breath of life in this series. It's
Nope.
over, 3-0. They're not coming back. The Dodgers should have a World Series victory, and we'll talk about that in the Guardians goodbye and what that means for the upcoming years, and if this Dodgers team is here to stay. But nonetheless, it has been Alex Hunt and your co-host Dominic Pagura.
Yes, sir.
We will see you guys in the next video or episode talking about the Guardians. I'd probably say Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday.
Yeah. Or even tomorrow. Thursday.
Thursday or tomorrow. I mean, to be fair, we could crank one out tomorrow, post it on Thursday.
Yep.
So just make sure you guys stay tuned. I did post onto the TikTok today. I'll probably post again to remind you guys about the video. But nonetheless, we love you guys. Stay tuned. Stay updated. We'll see you guys live on Sunday. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and follow all the channels. You guys are the best.